Good afternoon. Sharon Schultz, aka the Bay Lady here, and we are streaming live from Ellicott City, Maryland. Now, for those of you who don't know, I do tours like this in all kinds of strange places. Um, I got the name Bay Lady because the Chesapeake Bay is the heart of Maryland, and there are so many interesting things happening in and around the bay that I just can't help but want to share. So I love road trips, so if I can take you all along with me, well, that makes it even better. So if you want to find out more about my tours, please follow me on Facebook, The Bay Lady. And I also have a YouTube channel, Sharon Schultz, the Bay Lady. And if you follow me, you can, you'll be notified when tours are coming up and all. I always notify myself so I can make sure it's doing its job correctly. You never know, right? Anyway, another thing that you will find on either of those platforms is a link to buy me a coffee. I love coffee, by the way, but this is a place where I can accept gratuities for my tours, tips, donations, what have you. All of my tours are, free. And so, contributions from those who follow me are always welcome because it contributes like to gas money and like $33 ticket to get into the Baltimore Zoo. That blew me away. $33, and most of the animals were not even home. Anyway, that's not now. Okay, so we are in Ellicott City, Maryland, because I love this place. I have a long history. I've hung here, I've worked here, I've played here. Um, and the thing about Ellicott City, it's very, very unique. It's one of, well, right now, where I'm sitting is on top of the highest hill that surrounds Ellicott City. There's seven hills. And this is the highest one and probably the most haunted hill in the most haunted town in Maryland and probably the most haunted town in America. This is a very spooky place. It's full of old legends and ghosts, and it's attributed to basically the lay of the land. There's a river here, the Patapsco River, the mighty Patapsco, that was the driving force uh, behind founding this Ellicott City community. This was a mill town, and that river provided all the power they needed to operate their mills. And the other thing that is special about Ellicott City is that the granite in these hills, they call it a yellow granite. I don't know why, because it's not. I mean, here it is right here. Oh, no. Well, you'll see it in a minute. Anyway, this granite combined with the power of the river, people have come here and have experimented and determined that is the reason why this place has so much paranormal activity. The river just generates power and the rock absorbs it. And, history repeats itself on dark nights, is what I'm told. All right. Well, where we stand here, I'm going to turn this camera around. You might have been noticing the background behind me there. If not, that's okay, because you're going to get the front ground in a minute. As soon as I find it, okay. I'm switching cameras here, so. All right. Let's do this one. All right. you're looking at the hill. The river is way, way down below. And the hill continues to wind on up a ways until we get to the school, the Patapsco Female Institute. There it is right there. Okay. This was a school for wealthy girls from prominent Southern families, most of them from plantation. This was a boarding school. They lived here, they worked here, they played here, they learned here. Okay. It's a beautiful building constructed of that granite I was talking about. I'm probably not going to be able to get you a better view than from here, not until they open for the season and I can go in there and check out the property. We can walk around and such. You may be able to find some videos on Facebook or YouTube from last spring and summer. I did a tour here, at least one, so you might be able to still find it on there. Boy, spring is definitely coming to the hills. Get the pretty trees, colorful flowers, gotta love it. Okay, so this is the first stop on our ghost tour of Mount Misery, the haunted hill. Okay, Patapsco Female Institute was, I said, home to a lot of well-to-do, pampered, little privileged, little Southern belles. And one of them, by the name of Annie Vanderlot, was one of those. And as typical to some, she was spoiled and very unhappy with her surroundings. She wrote home to her parents and told them that the school was like a prison. It was cold. The teachers were mean. She hated the winter. Just everything. Every letter that she wrote from the first one was full of complaints to her parents to come and get her, please. So winter approached, and you got chilly, drafty hallways in that school, hallways of stone, not heated. The main rooms were heated by fireplace. Anyway, she caught a cold. She did. Annie Vanderlot. She caught a cold. And unfortunately, the cold worsened until she had full-blown pneumonia. Now, as sick as she was, she still managed to write one last letter home to her parents, begging for her father to please come and get her. Well, this particular letter, her mother read it and decided that the situation with her daughter wasn't improving, and she convinced her husband to go and get their daughter and bring her home. Now the letter two days after they received Annie's letter and her father left, Mom was still home, and they received a letter from the principal, the headmistress at the Patuxent Female Institute, telling them that Annie had passed away. Okay, so the father was on his way here to get her. There was no way that they could have notified him that she had passed. They knew a letter had gone out, and so when Mr. Vanderlot showed up at the school, they assumed that he was responding to the letter that their headmistress had sent, and that he had come to collect his daughter's body. Well, they brought him into the room where they had laid her out, and that was when he realized that she had died. So, a horrible way to find out. He did take her body home for burial. In the decades, almost centuries since that happened, a lot of people have reported seeing this young girl in a white nightgown, which is what they wore, white cotton nightgowns, kind of, here and there on the property. She's been seen in windows on the upper floors. Um, she's been seen coming around, running around a corner and disappearing. She's been seen walking downstairs that no longer exist, but did at the time. Okay. So she's been around. She's mostly seen at that upper window. And the conclusion is that she's waiting for her dad to come get her still. Remember, she died before he got there. She doesn't know he came. And so Annie Vanderlot waits for her father to come collect her and take her home. So that is the most common story. You can probably Google it and find that story. It's been circulating for decades, at least. Also, okay, during the Civil War, the school suffered greatly. Remember, most of its students were from those southern plantations, good families and all that, but from the South. And when war between the states was declared, we were on the northern side because Maryland was one of the first territories that the President Lincoln's troops occupied because of its close proximity to Washington, D.C. Couldn't have the enemy here in Maryland. So anyway, subsequently, Maryland was on a different side of the war officially from the southern states. So it just dwindled and never recovered. They closed the school permanently in, I think, the mid to late 1890s, and it was never a school again. In the early 1900s, it was a hotel. It was a bustling little hotel. They had, rooms. They had nice grounds to enjoy. They had a kitchen and a restaurant. They prepared meals. It went on pretty well, but didn't last forever, really. That was like in the early 1900s, maybe 1902. Then by like 1916, 17, you had World War II, and this was used as a hospital for the soldiers returning from battle. So obviously, there were soldiers here who were critical and didn't make it, and who passed on from here, never making it home or what have you. One such soul, well, this one spirit is believed to be one of those such people. There's a guy kind of dressed in, old-fashioned clothing that walks around up top of the hill smoking a cigarette outside there. So he's been, seen before too. They call him the smoking ghost. Okay, but he's from World War II. So now let's take a walk. Down the steps we go. Ho, ho, ho. How we doing? Y'all good? The volume's good? The video's good? Hold on, I'm getting stuck with my purse on the arm here. All right, here we go. Down these stone steps. Yeah, all of Ellicott City is surrounded by hills that are loaded with granite. And apparently, it's a particular type of granite that isn't found anywhere else. Go figure why this is so special. Okay, so that goes a little further up the hill and winds around to the front of the school, or rather the back of the school. This is the front. All right. And down here, way down there is the Patapsco River and also railroad tracks. Every now and then you hear a train rolling through. Mostly, I think freight trains these days, as opposed to passenger trains. The train station here in Ellicott City used to carry passengers, but that stopped in the 1950s. Sarah, hello to you. How are you there, lady? Good to seeing you joining in here. I love Ellicott City. This is one of my favorite places. You know what? I bet you have some good places that are haunted over there in the UK. Because here, I mean, you guys are. I mean, the UK's been around for centuries. You know, like this place has only been here for like a few centuries. So you have more cause for legends. I'm trying to focus this down there. I mean, I can see the river and the railroad tracks. I don't know if you guys can. I'm trying to get the river in the middle of the screen there. So doesn't look very rough today. Sometimes this river packs a punch, boy. When it floods, it floods. When this place floods, unfortunately, but seriously, people perish. The floods here are um, unearthly. They're awful. They're catastrophic. And of course, that's some of the, again, that goes back to the river. And also the ghosts. We have flood victims here that are still trying to find their way out. Sad but true. Okay, I think there's chickens up on that hill or something because my car is parked on the other side of it. And when I was getting out of the car, I kept thinking I'm hearing chickens. And then I'm thinking it's my imagination because, you know, I have my neighbor's chickens at home that I play with. And I'll, look at this. Isn't this lovely? Did I mention Ellicott City is built on a hill? This house is riverfront. Don't know if you can see behind it, but the river's back there and also the bridge that goes into the next county. Beautiful yard. Oops. Okay, we have a couple more places here on this wonderful little hill. Here's another nice yard. You could see how they're terraced, right? They take full advantage of the hill because it's all they got. If their yard isn't part of the hill, then the house is built into the hill, which is a very uniquely amazing thing, really. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Where are we coming to here? Oh, I don't know. This is always difficult to see on a good day. Sometimes you could almost see it better from the other side of the river. I've got some white castle-like columns, turrets, that I'm trying to put in the center of the screen for you to see. It's this house that's built like a castle, and it's like really well um, uh, shielded by trees. It's really hard to see what's going on. This was built in the early night. Oh my goodness, what was that? This was built in the early 1900s, modeled after a castle in France. You can see again more terraced yards. This garage belongs to the castle. The castle is behind it. Let's see how much of it we might see today. Oh, okay. All right. We can see some turrets in the middle of the screen between the garage and the landscaping. You can see the castle. Also, to the right of the castle is the old mill, the mill that made Ellicott City, built by the Ellicott brothers in the 1790s. I want to see if we can see the castle from another angle. You see how it's back there, kind of hidden, right? Wonder what they're doing here. Huh? You can see the mill really well. Let me see. I don't want to really trespass. Oh, they've lost their wall there. Can we see? Oh, yeah, you can see it a little bit. Well, the deal with the castle is that it's haunted. Okay. It's haunted by the man who built it. The man who built it was an artist, and what it was a rooming house. Okay. For most of its life, it was a rooming house. It was home to other artists. Okay. It was known as, an artist hangout. And so artists would rent the rooms and, live there or whatever. Well, this artist that had built the place died. And apparently he came back to keep his eye on things. And legend has it that if you dared to live here and you were not an artist, he would come and get you, take you down to the basement, which is like a dungeon, and kick you down the stone steps that lead to the river and your death. That's what he would do, is what we are told. So interesting, right? It was a boarding house too. That's the thing, with these haunted legends. They're surrounded by history. It involves all kind of history around it. So it's can't be beat. That's a pretty house up there with a gazebo on the back. Now, from where that house is perched, that is an awesome view of the valley and town of Ellicott City. Now, this house here, this house is quite interesting. Okay. You can see the front door. We're on the street where the front door is. But the street up there where that pretty gazebo is, they also have a door up there. Okay. So that building actually can access 3 different levels. And again, it's about the hill and being built right into it. Okay. This building is beautiful. There's another similar one, but the ironwork reminds me of New Orleans. That blue little structure right there, that used to be the kitchen, right? The outdoor kitchen. And you can see the house right there looks like 3 different levels, and it is. And as a matter of fact, the very top level back there looks like a front door, and it is the entrance to the Children's Historical Museum. So kind of interesting. Now, about the ghost story here. There is one. Okay. This house has been many things, but it was at one point used as a parsonage for the church that is up the hill. Okay. So it was a parsonage. And apparently there were several Parsons that lived here, one in particular for a very, very long time. And then eventually he passed away. And they had other Parsons here, but they never lasted long because there was a ghostly parson that would come bother them, come interfere with things, things that go make things that go bump in the night. And anyway, so for many, the first, initial thought is, oh God, yeah, it's Parson so and so. Didn't want to leave his home, he's come back. Unfortunately, the person that, or the entity that is described looks nothing like the parson, the good parson who lived here for so long. It is thought that perhaps there was somebody that was pretending to be a parson because this is in very close proximity to the town jail, right? And actually, the town jail is right up the street, and we will go check that out next stop. But first, a few things about this United Emory, let's see, Emory United Methodist Church. But the first thing I want to do is go give you a view from this hill back here. Access from to and from Main Street properties is prohibited. Used to be stairs like this that I would take to run downtown. I used to work at the courthouse. You can see one of the old churches. That's St. Paul's. And you're looking down at the rooftops on Main Street. It's such a cool little town. And you notice all the rock, right? All the granite. These houses are stone all the way. Okay, so here's a story. One year, the town, Ellicott City here, was doing a Civil War reenactment weekend. Okay, they, had there's real reenactors, that dress up and really get into all that. My stepson used to be one. Anyway, so the church invited some of the reenactors to camp out here, spend the night, because the hotel's kind of filled and really there aren't too many here. So they were able to camp out here in the church. And one soldier had come out here for whatever reasons, and saw this other guy, and they kind of struck up a conversation. And next thing you know, they're talking, and the guy turns around and turns back, and the dude he was talking to was gone. Poof, he didn't see where he went, what was going on. And he didn't get his name. So anyway, when he went back inside, he started asking around, hey, do you know who that was? Da, 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 da. Well, nobody heard of him. So the next morning, he still didn't see the guy. And he was asking around again. And somebody told him that they knew of a soldier who sounded like the description that he did. And so, he verified the description and all that. Well, come to find out, during the Civil War, this Union soldier was killed in battle. And he had wanted to be buried here in the churchyard. This is the church that he belonged to. So he wanted to be buried in the churchyard. Now, for whatever reason, the church wouldn't let him be buried here. Okay. So what happened was his relatives waited till it was late one night, brought the soldier's body here and buried it. in a somewhere in the cemetery, but without a grave marker, like in a undisclosed location, so he wouldn't be bothered. So the ghost story, the ghost part is that this poor soldier is out here looking for his grave, wandering looking for his grave. So interesting. I'm wondering if maybe the guy had been a Confederate soldier and that was why the family couldn't get permission to bury him here. Let's just walk around the corner here. I don't believe there's a graveyard anymore. No, just a sheer drop down the main street. That's all. Oh, my camera just spun around. I hate when it does that. Okay. Oops. Stop. All right. There we go. Oh, I hear chimes. Do you hear them? Chimes in the wind. Oh, look at the flowers. Daffodils or jonquils. I can't tell the difference. I think they're daffodils. I think jonquils are smaller and a lighter yellow. That's just my guess. I could be 100% wrong. So correct me if I am, please. Well, this is great. There's nobody here today. I've seen no one. No cars, no people. Interesting. What is this, a Tuesday? All right. One more thing I have to show you. I'm going to go stand right in the middle here. Notice Emory United Methodist Church. Notice that there isn't just one front door. You see that there are two front doors, right? Two. Okay. All right. That's because during services in that church, the people were segregated. The men used the door on the right and the women got the door on the left. And they went in and they sat in that part of the church and they exited through that door when it was all over. Now, I may not have it right. It could be opposite. That could be the ladies and that could be the men, but you get the picture. Hopefully they don't still do that, right? Okay. Now we are walking up the hill here. This is the Emory Street Jail. This jail was in use up until the 1960s. It is a horrible, horrible place. Horrible. Dark and dank. And look at this nice little hillside oasis. Don't you just love it? And more rock. Hey, granite. Ooh, they should make granite countertops out of this granite. I keep hearing all the time about granite countertops. Yeah, okay. Make them from this granite. Why don't you? All right. The jail. It was in use during the Civil War. And it wasn't just criminals that were held here. Okay. In addition to, your criminals, they also did executions here as well. Those that would be executed were held in a special wing of that jail in pitch darkness, pitch black, not allowed any lights. Don't know what the purpose of that was, but seems like it could fall under the title of cruel and unusual punishment. I don't know, just saying. And as I said, there were executions. They used to hang them. They used to hang those being executed around back of the building. We'll see that later when we go up top. But so it said that, some of the ghosts here are those that had been executed, some fairly, some not so fairly, some not so legal. There was one guy, He was a free black man, and he worked down on Main Street at Daniel's Tobacco Shop for Mr. Daniels. And one night they got into a fight, and the apprentice tobacco expert, the young guy said that Mr. Daniels had started it, that he attacked him. The problem was, when all was said and done, Mr. Daniels ended up with 20 stab wounds. So they really didn't believe his story, and so they locked him up, and he was to come to trial, except that one night, a bunch of Ellicott City's fine citizens broke into the jail, probably with a little help from the inside, dragged the poor boy out back, and hung him right then and there. So his spirit is said to walk at night here as well. Who doesn't walk here at night? I don't know. Okay. And we continue along our way. Still have a few more stops. And you know what? It is getting hot out here. I may have to take my sweater off and carry it. It's just getting hot, hot, hot. Here's that yard we saw from the other side. And I said, look at the house. I bet you it's like an apartment building, because that's a lot of house for one person. Plus, there seems to be a few cars there in the driveway. But then again, who knows? What do I know? There's the Emory Church that we saw a few minutes ago. And here we are looking up, 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 up. Up, up, and away. Huh. If those stairs worked, if there were more than just those stairs, I would go up there. That's where we're going to land anyway at some point. Here's an example of how these buildings end up on two different streets. Here's one right here. It's got the front door and the main entrance on that lower street where Emory Church is, see? And then, look, here's the entrance up here as well, right? Okay, so they split the house, see? Apartment D. Cute, right? This house used to be an old Quaker school. And I don't know if anything like particular happened here, but people that have lived here have noted that occasionally they would see like schoolboys, little Quaker boys and stuff, and then they would like vanish right away. Here's looking down on Main Street again. Busy, busy Main Street. Okay. We're coming up on the courthouse now. The official name of this hill is Courthouse Hill, actually, as it dominated the scene. It was here. It was here before, a long way down, before Patapsco Female Institute. So, oh, look at the pretty poppies. Wow, this is nice, having these little things. I bet they can sit out here in the morning and have their coffee, or sit out there in the afternoon with a glass of wine, or evening time with a cup of tea, a cuppa. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Well, this is kind of interesting. They're renovating this old courthouse, and the thing is that they oh, can't get up there. Okay. The thing is that they moved everybody out. It's empty. They built a new courthouse and moved everybody in it. So what they're using it for now, clueless, very clueless. So there's an old cannon. Okay, so this courthouse was here during the Civil War as well. And runaway slaves, okay, that were caught here were brought to the court by their captors, and the judge would determine, what to do with them. Now, if it was determined that they were indeed runaway slaves, the judges here at this courthouse would send them over to the jail and hold them there until their masters came to claim them. So some made it, some didn't. Some were claimed, some weren't. This area, this courthouse even, was part of what was known as the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad helped escaped slaves get north to freedom. And it was called a railroad because there were stops along the way where the slaves would hide. They'd be like safe houses, like slaves on the run, would, travel at night, and during the day they would stay hidden. And many of the people who assisted with the Underground Railroad, who were stops along the way, um, would, help clothe them and feed them and, just help them get to freedom. Now, what they had to watch out for was the slave catchers. The slave catchers were everywhere. They were like bounty hunters. They got paid for capturing, runaway slaves. So it was a pretty lucrative business, apparently. Well, not apparently, it was, because the slave catchers were the forefathers of our police departments. That's where they came from, as slave catchers. So, but you didn't know that. I didn't for a long time, that's for sure. So, okay. Now, around the corner we go. Mhm. So, anyway, there are things that go bump in the night here, by the way. I used to work there. I used to work there, and I would avoid working late at night during the wintertime when it got dark early. There are a lot of places you don't want to be in there in the dark, that's for sure. I had my fair share of getting spooked, things moving around when you're the only one there. Really? Go figure. Oh, they say there's a ghost that comes with this building as well. It's a museum now. But back when it was being constructed, there was a worker who fell and was killed. And they say that, he still roams around now. Here's the top of the building I was showing you, one of them. This is the one that has a front door down on the next street. And this is the Children's Museum up on this street. Go figure, right? Now, let me introduce you to the cooking ghost. Yes, the cooking ghost. All right. Um, Structural interest. Is this building, this home, attached to the courthouse? Looks that way. Hmm. It's attached, all right. I have no idea why, but when they added the addition to the courthouse, they built it around this house. Go figure, right? This house has an interesting history. Um, it belonged to a Dr. Miller, and Dr. Miller lived here with his wife, children, and they had one servant that was with them forever. Anyway, the they had a good life here. Doctor had a popular practice and such up until the doctor one day had a heart attack. He was in his bed, in his bedroom, and had a heart attack in his sleep and passed away. Well, it became a little bit of a struggle for his wife to make ends meet and supporting all the children and such. So she ended up turning the building into a boarding school for girls. And so their servant, the housekeeper, she would cook the meals for the girls, and Dr. Miller's wife would teach the classes, and her children were in them as well. And so it went. Then fast forward to present day. The courthouse built around this building. The courthouse, or the county, the state, whatever the entity is, owns this building, and it's not being used now because the circuit court has apparently vacated this complex. But at one time, this building was used as offices for the Department of Parole and Probation. Okay, they had their offices here. This is where they, process people on, probation, investigated them, and just all that kind of stuff. And the um, the people working in the building would hear like noises at night coming from the upstairs where the bedrooms were, the room where the doctor passed away. And so they had called in a paranormal organization to check it out. And that's how they determined that it was Dr. Miller, that, he died in his bed and was still hanging out. He hadn't left. And then there's a second ghost here. I mentioned the cooking ghost. We believe that it is the servant that used to, take care of the family, and then the schoolgirls preparing meals and such. And the story goes that there are times when you walk by this building and you can smell the food, be it bacon or, whatever. It's a strong presence, you can smell the food, but there's no kitchen on the premises anywhere. So go figure, right? Cool story, the cooking ghost. I can testify to her. I've smelt food at couple different times when I came by here. I've also seen Annie before they restored the ruins up top the hill, the school. When I worked at the courthouse, I used to bring my lunch and go sit up there on the stone steps where the columns were and eat lunch. It had a nice view of Ellicott City at the time. I saw Annie come around the corner one day. I was like, holy crap. Okay. All right, we have 2 more stops. God, what a nice day this turned out to be. Look how high up we are. There's you see another church in the background and another school. I'll tell you what, Ellicott City, from the time it was incorporated in the 1790s, this place has been an amazing place for education. There were so many schools here. So many private academies were built here. Um, Most of them are in ruins, and most of them are haunted. Go figure. Who knew? So here we're at the back end of the courthouse, and we're at the back end of the jail. Okay, we were looking at the jail from that street right there. We saw the front of it. And here's where they used to walk the perps from the courthouse into the jail for processing. It's a pretty dismal place. Thank God they closed it. It's been closed for a long time now. Talk about cruel and unusual punishments, right? Okay, so looking down at the yard, okay, there were trees there at one point, the hanging trees. Yeah, that's where they would do the hangings, right out back. Right out back, they were doing those. And they were hanging prisoners into the 1920s and using the jail into the 1960s. A kind of dismal, right? Gives new meaning to cruel and unusual punishment, don't you think? One more place to show you here about the jail. Round back. I don't know how far you can see. Like, I don't know if you could like stop this and pinch it and make it bigger, but the camera is aimed at the ruins that we started our tour on. It's aiming at the ruins. You can see the side of the building there. Oh, the wind's picking up. They said it would. Okay. So nice here, isn't it? It's a lovely day. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Oh, here's something about the jail, built in 1851. Yay. Let's see, what does it say? Howard County Jail was the location where freedom seekers and those charged with encouraging enslaved persons to run away or rise up against their masters or similar charges during the age of enslavement were held from January 1852 through the end of slavery in Maryland on November 1st, 1864. The Maryland General Assembly passed an act authorizing the Board of Commissioners of Howard County District to levy taxes to create the jail. The jail was accepted for use on December 16th, 1851. Among the prisoners held were runaways like Augustus Briggs and Richard Martin, held as a fugitive without a pass. Oh, and here's where they expanded on the jail. The original part, 1851, that's this part over here. This is where they held the enslaved people that the slave catchers caught, right down there in that lower area. That's where they were held. Sad, right? All right, one last stop. One last stop. And this stop is on a much lighter note. It's a nice way to end, I do believe. Look at the trees. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yay. Whoa. You can hear the wind just rolling up the hill and down. Whoa, look at this. You hear the wind. Cool, right? While it's blowing all the blossoms off the trees. Uh, it's very refreshing, anyway. All right. Look at this lovely little mansion. This, my friends, is Mount Ida. Mount Ida was built in the early 19th century by George Ellicott, who the George Ellicott of the Ellicott brothers fame. When Ellicott passed, the house was sold to an attorney, and the attorney was, successful. He moved in here with his wife, and he had a son and three daughters. And so they lived here for a really long time. As time went on, the doctor died of whatever. Okay, so he passes away, and then his son was killed accidentally, and then the mother passes away. So that leaves the three daughters. The youngest daughter, her name was Ida. Okay. Well, Ida outlived her older sisters. Now, when Ida first found herself by herself, she used to have the children in the town for company. She would invite the town children to come up, and they would go up to, you see the widow's walk on top of the roof there. She would take them up there, and they had like outstanding views of the city below, the hills, the trains, the river, all of that. And she really enjoyed their company. But she got older. Maybe she was alone too long, but she started getting paranoid. And she became fearful of the people in town. She was afraid that someone would break into the house. And she became obsessed with that thought, with that fear. So what she did was she began to carry with her a ring of keys. Okay. Each door in the mansion had a lock and a key. And she would carry the keys with her, unlocking a door, stepping into her room, locking the door behind her, unlocking the door, step into the room, lock the door behind her. Okay, this is what she did. Well, eventually Miss Ida passed, and other people came to live in this house. And at one point, the Historical Society for the Preservation of Patapsco Female Institute had their offices here. And as a matter of fact, at the time, up the hill at the school, they were doing outdoor Shakespeare plays. And they had a shuttle bus that they used to drive, taking people from here up to the school. So anyway, during that time when other people lived here, when the staff lived here, if you were here towards the end of the day, when the place kind of emptied out and kind of settled down for the evening, it would not be unusual to hear the clanging of keys jingling on a key ring, as in Miss Ida jingling her keys. And I've often laughed. Last I had heard, somebody, a private, had bought this property and turn it into a bed and breakfast. And I don't know what happened because it doesn't look. It looks like all the work that they were doing has stopped. But I got the biggest chuckle out of this. If they turn it into a bed and breakfast, can you remember? Can you imagine waking up in the middle of the night or whatever and hearing keys jingling? Right? Yeah. How cute is that? There's a lady walking down there. I wonder where she's going. Anyway, so there you have it, folks. How was that? Nice tour? Nice day, right? Let's see. Ooh, it's getting windy too. You know what? I think our timing is good. I think our timing is wonderful. Hold on a second. Let me turn the camera around so I can see you. Mhm. All right. All right. Hello, hello. I'm back. How are you? All right. Oh, hello. Oh, people are always friendly when they see somebody with a camera. I don't know why, but anyway. So, my friends, I would tell you what my next tour is, but I don't remember. You'll have to check, I'm afraid. Maybe you'll get a notice. It's worthwhile to sign up. That's okay. I have my tours notify me too. You never know what life will bring. For real. So, I guess I'll go now. I've had enough. I'm hungry. It's wind. I worked up an appetite. This walk. It's a good one. Healthy. All right. See you guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you, Sarah.